from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, good morning, everyone. Live from the studio today. How's everyone doing? Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. We've got a packed show for you today as we try to get this done in under 10 minutes. DogWalk, Apple's new security feature, and a bunch of news coming out of RSA. So RSA is going on this week. We're not in San Francisco, obviously. I'm in my studio in Atlanta, Georgia, but definitely wish I could be in San Francisco. I will be at Black Hat. That I can promise you. I don't miss Black Hat or DEF CON. So I hope to see a lot of the smiling faces that I see now on at RSA back in Vegas in a few months. So without further ado, let's get into our morning cup of coffee here. Coffee cup cheers, folks. And let's get right into DogWalk Windows ZeroDay gets an unofficial patch. So the free unofficial patch for a Windows ZeroDay vulnerability in the Microsoft Support Diagnostic tool has been released through the OPatch platform. The security flaw, which has been dubbed DogWalk, is a path traversal flaw attackers can exploit to copy and execute to the Windows startup folder when the target opens a maliciously crafted DIA gcab file. The planted malicious executable would then automatically be executed the next time the victim starts Windows. The vulnerability was first disclosed by security researchers Imari Rod in January of 2020 after Microsoft replied to his report and saying it won't provide a fix because it isn't a security issue. However, the bug has been rediscovered and brought to the public attention by security researcher Joe Sean. And while Microsoft said that the Outlook users are not at risk, because they're automatically blocked, some argue that the bug is still exploitable, obviously. So an unofficial patch has been released by the OPatch micro patching service, and you can find all the details on our website at CyberHub Podcast or in the show notes if you're listening on your favorite podcast listening platform. Owl Lab patches severe vulnerability in their video conferencing devices. The severe vulnerability affected its Meetings Owl Pro and Whiteboard Owl devices. The Owl Lab Meeting Pro features a 360 lens camera to offer a panoramic view of the conference room. It also offers support for various video conferencing solutions, including Zoom, Skype, and Google Meet. The researchers discovered 5 vulnerabilities in the Meeting Owl Pro, all CVE 2022-31459 or 9, 31460, 31461, and 31463 and 31462 with a CVSS score of 9.3 on the 31462. All of these issues are related to hard-coded credentials. On Monday, there was a patch available for CVE 2022-31460, which is a bug that allows an attacker within Bluetooth range to turn the Meeting Owl device into a rogue access point to the owner's network. And there's several other on the way. But not all of them have that, so you may want to mitigate those devices as well. On Monday, Apple announced they had their WWDC. Not a lot coming out of it, but this, a rapid security response feature in iOS 16 and macOS Ventura that's designed to deploy security fixes without the need for a full operating system version update. The macOS security gets even stronger with the new tools that make the Mac more resistant to attack, including rapid security response that works in between normal updates to easily keep security up to date without a reboot needed. The feature, which also works on iOS, aims to separate regular software updates from critical security improvements and are applied so that users are protected against in-the-wild attacks. This is probably more designed for stuff that we've seen from NSO Group and Pegasus, being able to identify and then not have to do an entire software patch, but just a security update to get it taken care of. What's more, iOS 16 will now permit users to edit strong passwords suggested by Safari to adjust for site-specific requirements, not to mention requiring apps to request a user's permission to access the clipboard to paste content from another app. USB-C and Thunderbolt accessories, barring power adapters and standalone displays, will be made explicitly. Ask for users' consent before they can communicate with Mac OS devices. Again, Apple kind of doing this and following FIDO. They've also announced that they are going with passwordless. sign-in standard that allows users to log into websites and apps across using the Touch ID or Face ID for biometric verification. It's important to understand these are still going to be tokens, and how you manage those tokens on your device and how you communicate with those tokens is just going to be as critical. And if you don't think that there's threat actors now figuring out ways how they can phish you to get that token, is going to be very, very difficult. Passkeys never leave your device, making it almost impossible for them to be phished. Almost impossible is the key word in there. Almost impossible. Talk to anyone who tries to break something and they'll tell you everything is possible. So keeping that in mind. Some RSA news from CISA. First, cyber defense programs are building trust between government and industry. A month-old initiative by CISA to revamp how the federal government works with private sector to address digital threats has begun to foster a new level of faith between the two sides, according to Director Jen Easterly. During a panel discussion at RSA, trust is built through transparency, responsiveness, humility, gratitude, and everything that says we want to add value from a government perspective, and you from a private sector want to add value. Let's come together, do it collectively for the defense of the nation. What a great line in times like these. The Homeland Security Department's fiscal 2023 budget request asks for an extra $14.7 million to scale up to JCDC work to ensure it can meet the diverse needs. How you can help with that, by the way, is to write your congressman and say, please make sure they get those $14.7 million. So sharing information in real time with a very exotic technical tool called Slack is how they're doing it in terms of information sharing. And so really cool to see that sense of humor. Also detailed yesterday was Chinese state-sponsored, talking a lot about China. I know everyone's been Russia. It's good to see China back in the headlines where they belong. So U.S. agencies offered new details on how Chinese state-sponsored hackers have used publicly known vulnerabilities to target ISPs and major telecoms firms across the globe over the last 2 years. They're taking advantage of CVEs, and they're backed by Beijing, which allows them to break into victims' accounts and network infrastructure through a VPN or another public-facing application without using their own distinctive or identifying malware, meaning the Chinese signature isn't there. Hence, you're unable to really say who it is, but we now know that this is China. This is the latest effort by the federal government to inform private sector of the scope of the digital threat posed by China and urges entities to take action to defend themselves. I know a lot of us work with firms that do stuff within China, but this is just as critical to bring it up to them and ask them, how is this going? And why are you doing this to begin with? So if you're bringing software from China, why? Hardware from China, how are you checking it? What's your software supply chain look like? What's your software bill of materials? What's your hardware bill of materials within the hardware you're getting from China? All very, very legitimate questions to be asking at this time. So there's not a holding back from the U.S. federal government anymore in terms of exposing this stuff. This is really, really critical, and glad to see that we're back on the China train than Russia. Russia's economy, folks, is smaller than some of the smallest states in our nation. In 50 states, China's economy threatens our U.S. economy significantly. They're stealing IP. They're stealing research. They're actively manipulating data here. And so that's really critically just as important, folks. Quick shout out to your David Hurley. Good morning, Chris on YouTube. You can go check it out there. Ken, good morning to you. Reggie, what's happening? And David as well. Good morning to you, David B. So thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up this week. Yesterday, we had technical difficulties getting the show off on the air, but we didn't have that today, thankfully and gratefully. So until next time, have a great rest of your day. Most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.